The northeast of England is home to some beautiful coastline, iconic sites and some of the friendliest people you can meet. It's also one of the most neglected, derelict and, quite frankly, shat upon corners of the country. I investigated 19 of the places that got the most stick in the media and online. Welcome to part 1 of the worst places in northeast England. Alright, here we go. Number 19 is Morpeth. We're not going to spend long in Morpeth. The reason it's here is because I saw an article complaining that the place is up itself and the people are poncy, posh and pretentious. I arrived on a rainy Saturday afternoon that wasn't conducive to filming, so I had to postpone until the following morning when thankfully the sun had come out to play. Being a Sunday morning, it was quiet, so I had no real time to judge whether these people were poncy, posh and or pretentious. What I can say about Morpeth is that it's a very nice town, and yes, it's pretty middle class. An old market town of only about 14,000 people or so. It's less than 50 miles south of the Scottish border and only about 25 miles north of Newcastle. Morpeth's name is Old English for murder path. Despite that name, it did seem a very peaceful town with lovely buildings, castle and the river Wansbeck running through it. There's all the middle class shops and a nice arcade. Nothing in the town centre is decrepit nor boarded up, but no town in Britain is safe from the Turkish barbers, of which there are 2. I know that because the names of them are Turkish Barber and Turkish Barber 2, which sounds like a bad sequel. From the makers of Turkish Barber comes Turkish Barber 2 Judgment Day. You've been Turkish barbered. I did manage to find one derelict building outside of town, but that was more than compensated for by the Old Court, Carlisle Park and Morpeth Castle. Its railway station is on the East Coast Main Line with trains up to Scotland and down to London. And the only piece of evidence of antisocial behaviour I found was this broken bottle of Newcastle Brown Ale, which leads us on nicely to our next port of call. Number 18 is Newcastle-upon-Tyne, the unofficial capital of the northeast of England. Famous for its lively nightlife, friendly Geordie locals and the iconic Tyne Bridge. England's most northern city. We're going to start this segment just outside of Newcastle though, in Wallsend, the end of Hadrian's Wall and the site of a Roman fort, abandoned in around the year 400. I mention this because the city was founded by Hadrian himself in the 2nd century. After the Romans left, it became an Anglo-Saxon settlement known as Monkchester, up until the Normans arrived and built a new castle, giving the city its current name of Newcastle. Nowadays, the Tyne Bridge is probably the most famous landmark in the city. Work on the bridge started 100 years ago in 1925 and was completed in 1928. By the banks of the Tyne, it's very picturesque and a historic mix of architectural styles from across different periods of history. The nightlife in Newcastle is so good that Rough Guides voted it the best in the whole of Britain. The city is bustling every day of the week and it has all the shopping centres and the stuff you'd expect from an important city of around 300,000. There's a small Chinatown as well. And here we have a part of the town walls that was built in the Middle Ages, sadly not appreciated by some people. Newcastle has a popular university around which are the most modern buildings and the hotels in the city. And of course there's St James's Park nearby as well, the home of Newcastle United Football Club. Statues of Alan Shearer and Sir Bobby Robson on one side, and then 2 helter-skelter car parks on the other. Lovely stuff. This is a general look of the city centre, theatres and cathedrals and all kinds of things, just a mixed match of stuff everywhere you look. There's multiple stops on the Tyneandwear metro, and the Newcastle station is a very important one on the East Coast Main Line. This is Granger Town, and here you'll find Granger Market, which is the main indoor market in the city centre selling vintage clothes and the like. This is a cheap fruit stall, in contrast to Greggs. Newcastle is the home of Greggs. Founded by John Gregg in 1939, there are now over 2,600 of the bakeries across Britain. Newcastle's city centre is great, and it looks even better with the sun beaming off the buildings, but of course, nowhere's perfect. Helter-skelter car parks are pretty close to perfect, but British summers aren't. The rain arrived and was as welcoming as the 60s derelict buildings. The buildings, coupled with the heavy traffic of the urban motorway, make for a gritty scene which wouldn't look out of place in a gangster movie. The old Gibson Street public baths was last used as a badminton club and has been derelict since 2016. It's considered one of the top 10 most endangered buildings in Britain. I was in this part of town to see an area called Blacker. Yes, like Blacker Grove, the TV programme that spawned British housewives' favourites Ant and Dec. Although it wasn't actually filmed here, it was based in Blacker, as it's considered one of the toughest areas of the city. This is the main shopping area, Shields Road, which is a bit like the zombie movie 28 Days Later. High levels of crime, addiction and deprivation. The Sun, in one of their characteristically over-the-top BS headlines, called it Britain's worst high street. Well, at least there's a metro so you can escape. The part I was most looking forward to seeing was this, Vicar Wall. The wall itself is built of 620 masonettes that replaced the Victorian slum housing, and the wall was designed to give protection from a motorway that never ended up getting built. The style is functionalist romantic, which was a bit of a departure from the brutalism that was popping up everywhere else at the time. Walking through the wall here felt like walking into a lion's den. It looks like it'd be an easy place to get lost in and an easy place to get away from the police. It's colourful and it's unique. I'm pretty sure there's nowhere else like this in Britain. From what I read online, the community is tight-knit and friendly, and the neighbours look out for each other, which isn't something you get in a lot of wealthier neighbourhoods. We're going to go on a little speedy walk through the estate just to show you what it's like. This is at about 9:30 in the morning, so it's pretty quiet. Most people are on their way to work or still in bed or whatever they're doing at 9:30 in the morning. I did get accosted by somebody just outside the wall who was asking me to buy him drugs. Obviously, I declined, and then he accused me of being a busy and a rat. A busy, by the way, for you southerners out there, means police officer. So yeah, a very unusual place. If you've ever seen anywhere like this, let me know in the comments, please. I'd love to see it. The fella here from the council fixing the door. Is it just me, or is that a different shade of green? Alright, so just leaving the estate now. We'll take a look back. There's a Thai boxing club in the wall. The swimming pool is no longer a swimming pool, it's a climbing wall, but there is a pool elsewhere, as I'm showing here. And that's the Biker Wall, an interesting place. Now I could go on and on for a whole hour about Newcastle. I could talk more about the foodie scene in Jesmonds, the Great North Museum, the theatres and so on and so forth and Gosforth. But this isn't a tourism video, so let's move on. Number 17 is South Shields. Now, South Shields is quite possibly the best seaside town in the northeast. On the Tyneandwear metro and located on the southern mouth of the River Tyne as it spills into the North Sea, the town has a population of around 76,000 and it receives over 7 million visitors per year. Notice how the Mills Glass building doesn't have any glass in its window. The reason I went to South Shields is because according to the crime rate website, it's the most dangerous town in Tyneandwear. The town centre is pretty average with the same shops you'd expect anywhere, and the market looked like it was packing up for the day. It was the afternoon after all. The Word is both the library and the visitor centre, and there's an art gallery, a museum, some nice boozers, and a statue of war hero John Simpson Kirkpatrick, the man with the donkey. This helpful statue points the way to the beach via nightclubs and the Curry Mile along Ocean Road. That's a long line of restaurants that serve all types of cuisines, not just curries, although there's plenty of that too. And it's so popular, even Al Pacino opened a restaurant here. This statue points the way back to town, but we're heading via this lifeboat and Queen Victoria Memorial to the Victorian South Marine Park, which has a boating lake, a land train, bandstand, and even a waterfall. This pub has been derelict for over a decade now, and if I hadn't looked that up online, I could have guessed by the price of the carvery. I struggle to get a pint for £5.95 these days. This is a disappearing gun, and the beaches to the south of South Shields. The traditional amusements are here, and Sandhaven Beach has won several awards. It's very clean and it is vast. The conversation piece sculptures are a bit of an odd shape. Maybe they had too many £5.95 carveries. Herdgroin is one of two lighthouses in South Shields, and the blood red contrasted beautifully against the dark sky. If you're lucky, you might even see dolphins here. South Shields even has a Roman fort built in 129 AD, abandoned in the year around 400 and rediscovered in 1875. I very much enjoyed my afternoon in South Shields, and I saw no antisocial behaviour at all, although like most seaside towns I can imagine it gets a little bit rowdy at times, especially with it being less than 30 minutes from central Newcastle on the metro.
Powered by steam, capable of covering great distances.
And at speed, Mr. Peace. Faster than a simple horse, in fact faster than anything you can imagine.
Number 16, Darlington, or Darlow as it's known colloquially. Darlington is a railway town, home to the first ever steam passenger railway. Hopetown Darlington you're seeing here in the images is a free museum that lets you explore an old railway station. Even the gents lose. Darlington is a market town of around 110,000, and it's largely avoided the problems that other towns in the area face with post-industrialisation, as it was a railway town and not a mining one. Skerne Bridge here is the world's oldest railway bridge. There's a sign here enticing visitors to the station and simultaneously telling us not to give money to people who appear homeless. Until almost exactly 200 years ago, Darlington was a small market town until the 27th of September 1825, George Stephenson's locomotive number 1 rolled through town en route from Shildon to Stockton-on-Tees and ushering in a new era of rail travel. Darlow is relatively pleasant to walk around with lots of Victorian buildings and lanes, market and all the regular shops. Here we have a hat-trick of Turkish shops, 2 kebabs and a barber's. There's a fair few modern buildings and a couple of shopping centres, a few grand buildings, and of course, like 99% of British towns, there's a few concrete eyesores. This must be one of those fake homeless guys the sign was telling us about. Does he realise he's lying down in wet paint? Now, it was a beautiful summer's afternoon in Darlington. Plenty of people were out and about, and the sun had its hat on, so the mood was good. But this is a worst places video, so my job is to find the bad as well as the good. So here we go, let's have a look at the brutalist Darlington Town Hall, built in 1970. The Book and Film Exchange, a victim of modernity. The Darlington Central Club shut down. Route 66 nightclub in a railway town was never going to work. Aruba sounds exotic, looks shit. And the old bottle company building, and well, almost every building on this street closed down. And yuck, more concrete. But as a whole, it's a pretty nice town centre. Even with the Horsemarket Square fenced off that day. The DL1 is a modern leisure complex that has recently seen a few of their businesses leave due to a lack of footfall. Unfortunately, I had a bit of a nightmare with my camera in Darlow and it downloaded all my footage in the wrong order. So instead of spending the next year trying to reorder everything and tell you what each place is, I'll tell you about a fellow from Darlington called George Reynolds. So George Reynolds came from the tough East End of Sunderland and learned to break safes in his youth. This turned into a lucrative career until he got caught. After he came out of prison for the third time, he started a very successful kitchen business and in 1999 used some of the proceeds to purchase Darlington Football Club and build an ambitious new stadium on the outskirts of town. The stadium was built with a capacity of 25,000 and Reynolds announced plans to take Darlington FC to the Premiership. The fact that the team were playing in the 4th Division in front of around 2,000 spectators didn't seem to matter. The spell was predictably a disaster. The stadium was nicknamed the White Elephant and the club went into administration due to the costs of running the stadium. Darlington FC have since fallen down the leagues from the 4th to the 6th tier, whilst Reynolds left the club and was arrested the year after leaving and did time for tax evasion and finished his days running a vape shop in Durham. Darlington FC play here now at the rugby stadium and in the 24-25 season their average attendance in the National League North was 1,436. They charge what I think is a whopping £14 to watch 6th tier football. I think that's a bit much. Darlow's crime rate isn't too bad. I had to walk around the back streets here and didn't feel unsafe or any kind of poverty or litter or terrible graffiti apart from that last little bit there. So we started at a railway station, the other one was the North End station in Darlington, and now we're going to end at the main station of Darlington. This one's undergoing a £100 million refurbishment and 2 extra platforms are being added to take it up to 6 in total. Number 15, Houghtonlespring. Roughly halfway between Sunderland and Durham lies Houghtonlespring, a small town of around 37,000 people. According to last rounder's statistics, it's among the top 10 most dangerous places in Tyneandwear. It also gets slated quite heavily on the I Live Here website. It seems alright to me. A pretty average high street with all the usual shops, not much in the way of litter nor graffiti. And a proper cafe serving up chicken curry with rice and chips for £4.50. Can't be bad. Of course there's a Turkish Barbers and to make sure you don't miss it, there's a sign on the opposite side of the road. Decent prices on the beers, apart from Carling you'd have to pay me to drink that fizzy nat piss. And a nice looking The medieval Church of St Michael and All Angels is the most notable building in the town. As well as the High Street, there's a few medieval style streets and some old buildings. Every October, Houghton holds the 10-day Houghton Feast, which dates back to the 12th century, where the community gets together for firework displays, fun fairs and ox roasting. This celebration started when the vicar of the St Michael's Church fed ox to the poor of the town. It's certainly not a pretentious town. If it was, I don't think a shop called Tattoos by Gary would survive. Same for The Barbers and The Studio. There are a few shops boarded up or unoccupied, but overall Houghton has seemed to have adapted well to the closing of the colliery in the 80s. As a matter of fact, where the colliery once was, now stands a retail park. An information board here shows what it looked like throughout the years. I had a walk through the back streets and there wasn't much in the way of antisocial behaviour, just a random dumped bit of fabric there and a small bit of graffiti and a broken bottle. And that's Houghtonlespring, somewhere that thankfully hasn't done too badly since the closing of the mines. That hasn't been the case in many towns, as you'll see later in this video series. Number 14, Gateshead. Gateshead is like Newcastle's less popular sister. Separated from Newcastle by the Tyne River and here by the Millennium Gateshead Bridge, Gateshead is home to cultural attractions, the Baltic Centre for contemporary art and the Glasshouse Centre for music. Many of the tourists who visit Newcastle will have seen these attractions and not even realise that they're in Gateshead. But Gateshead is a big place in its own right, home to around 200,000 people and with an area that's actually bigger than Newcastle. I was keen to see what exactly this town was like. My first impressions were that it was like an American city. It's all tall, modern buildings with nobody walking around anywhere. Even the names of the streets sounded American. Keys Boulevard. It soon got very English again though, as I stumbled upon the Fog on the Tyne pub, no doubt named after Gateshead's most famous son, Paul Gascoigne. Speaking of football, this is Gateshead's grounds, the Gateshead International Stadium. Gateshead FC play in the 5th Division, but the stadium has been used for athletics and concerts by the likes of Bryan Adams and Tina Turner. I'd read that Felling was the roughest part of Gateshead, so I went to check it out. I couldn't even find out the name of this park, but it was an absolute mess. And the local boxing club owners had hung up their gloves for the last time, and the place was left derelict. After that introduction, I crossed the metro line into Felling proper, fearing the worst, and sure enough, the high street was pretty run down. The local business is struggling, and they're probably unable to compete with the Asda superstore on the corner. However, despite a bit of rubbish here, it didn't feel unsafe or especially dirty, even in the back alleys. I headed to Central Gateshead after that and found an art gallery and some nice period buildings. Then I came across the leisure centre, which was all boarded up. Good news, however, it reopened in August 2025 after 2 years of being closed due to the council's apparently limited budget. This is Saltwell Park. It's massive and very pretty. A bone of contention at the moment is the closure of the flyover to Newcastle, causing massive delays into the city. The flyover is out of use and it's to be demolished in autumn 2025. So we're going to head into the town centre then, and it's got a lot of 60s and 70s architecture, so brace yourselves. This shopping area is Trinity Walk, which was formerly known for its brutalist car park that fans of the movie Get Carter would recognise. All that's gone now, demolished in 2010 after just 43 years of life. A pretty accurate piece of graffiti here. Grim. As are some of the tired looking old rows of shops. Like most town centres, a lot of people just don't seem to really care for it. If there's any Gateshead locals watching this, please let me know in the comments if you prefer the town centre as it was when the car park was there or how it is now. The building for sale here was a dispensary to provide medical supplies to the poor after an outbreak of cholera in 1831. Let's hope it's bought by somebody responsible and looked after and not demolished. This is the old town hall, and it has the windows boarded up and the clock outside isn't working. The building was completed in 1870 and served as a police station and a court as well as council offices. It's soon to be converted into homes. There's a picture there of the old Trinity Square car park. Outside of Trinity Square, it's Pretty quiet town really. I went out of town past this otherwise nice parks, derelict buildings, and past an area called Teams. Eventually ended up at the Metro Centre, which is another place that people assume is Newcastle, but is actually Gateshead. It's one of the largest shopping centres in Britain. We'll head now to Dunstan Staithes, which was a coal-loading structure built in 1893 and closed in the late 70s. Subsequently left to ruin and damaged by fire, the structure has been restored in recent years and is open to the public. Well, open to an extent anyway. The riverfront is nice, albeit filled with sludge and traffic cones. And now we're by the iconic Tyne Bridge and back in the town centre in the historic railway quarter. I only had one full day in Gateshead. It's a massive town and I feel like I only really scratched the surface. I'll definitely go back. Number 13, Newbiggin by the Sea. A small town, possibly the smallest I've ever featured on one of these videos. It's got a population of about 6,500 people. The town got heavily slated by another YouTuber, so I thought I'd see what it's all about. First of all, it's bloody miles from anywhere. It's at a dead end, so you can't just happen upon the place, you have to be going there specifically. Town is flanked to the north and the south by holiday parks. Nearest supermarkets and railway station are in Ashington, which is a few miles to the west. It's got a real end of the world feel to it, which some people might love. And people who visit Skegness might love it too, as 500,000 tonnes of sand from Skeggy was deposited here to save the beach that was eroding at the time. A couple had swam out from the shore onto this breakwater to stare at the sea. Despite the overcast day, the promenade and beach were nice enough. Northumberland though is a county known for nice beaches, and here's that couple again. They do get about, and how'd they get their clothes dry so fast? There's a small fishing fleet here. Traditional industries are fishing and coal mining, and of course the mine closed in the 80s. There's a little maritime centre which contains a shop, museum and a cafe. It was raining by this point, but with the stoic attitude of this local couple sat on the bench with an umbrella, I visited the 12th century St Bartholomew's Church where a wedding was taking place. The Cresswell Arms is apparently the last boozer before Norway. The town centre is pretty uninspiring, a couple more boozers. Okay, this one is just a house. And this is about as good as it got. There's not much to do here apart from fishing and drinking. And I don't like fishing, plus it's raining. It's probably best we leave. Number 12, Blyth. What a day to go to Blyth. This is July in England, everyone. And to make things worse, Blyth is by the sea, so the wind was whipping off the North Sea as well. There's a beach on the right hand side to the south of town, but for obvious reasons I didn't go and visit it. Blyth is in Northumberland then, about 12 miles north of Newcastle, and has a population of about 40,000. I'm arriving here on the bus because the nearest railway station, Blyth Bebbside, is an hour's walk from the town centre, and that station only opened this year in 2025 after over 60 years of Blyth not having a station at all. So this is the town centre, which is currently undergoing a makeover. Now I don't know if it's always like this on a Saturday morning or if it's just the weather, but the town was dead. There were more shuttered down shops than there were open ones. A walk around the back alleys of town was pretty gloomy, in particular this one. And by the looks of things, the next Banksy isn't coming out of Blyth. The whole of the central square and the market were fenced off, and from what I can tell, the market that was here has been converted into a cinema and an arts venue, and I think that was a shopping centre as well, which has just been closed down. The local seagulls don't seem impressed with the house prices, but a 3-bed semi for 98 grand, that didn't seem too bad. The Blyth and Tyne Hotel was one of the nicer buildings in town, from the outside at least. Everything was shuttered up, so I made my way out of town towards the quayside. Now, Blyth is investing a lot in wind energy, and boats come to the port from Scandinavia to import paper and pulp. Coal mining and shipbuilding are the traditional industries, long since closed down. The spirit of the stays here. This sculpture represents Blyth's coal mining past. There were quite a few people out fishing. I hope they are throwing the fish back and not eating them, judging by the colour of the water. This is Williams 2, a Danish boat over 100 years old, which can be chartered. It's based on the original Williams ship built in Blyth, which was arguably the first to discover Antarctica. The Blyth Rocket House lighthouse looks a little out of place with the houses that have been built around it. Ridley Park was like the town, deadly quiet, even though by now the rain had stopped. Back to town we went, past the Phoenix Theatre. The picture framing shop, Frameworks, was probably the poshest shop in town. There's really not much else to say about Blyth. Some roadworks, I don't know, over 2 hours later and the town was still dead. The sun was almost threatening to appear by now, so it's time to get on a bus because there are no trains and go to the next place. Number 11, Northshields. We start our trip here in the western end of Northshields, Meadow Well, which is apparently the tougher end of the town, where the residents enjoy a beer and a pepper army, but aren't so keen on cleaning up the dog poo. Northshields is about 8 miles east of Newcastle, with a population of just over 6,000, and as its name would suggest, it's the northern counterpart of Southshields. Unlike Southshields, there is no beach here, although there is a ferry to Southshields, and some pretty impressive riverside buildings. Information boards tell us of how in Victorian times the area had slum-like conditions. Nowadays, it's very modern and pleasant. So we head to the town centre then, and it is in a time of change. It needs a lick of paint and some investment, and it seems to be receiving it. A lot of shops have closed down, including the larger franchises as well as the small businesses. Northshields transport hub is where you'll find the metro and a bus station, and very modern and clean it is too. The high street, at the time of my visit, was being dug up and regenerated. According to North Tyneside Council, they are improving access between the town centre and the riverside, improving the town centre itself to make it more attractive for shoppers, and creating new housing. Let's hope it all comes to fruition. I had a walk then through the back streets and it all seemed very quiet and pleasant. Some kind local here had left out a stepper for people to do their workout on as they pass through the alleyway. There are a lot of buildings in Northshields that need some TLC, and the roads here are in shocking condition. You can see the old cobbled streets under the tarmac. The new store looks like it was new in 1989. The Beacon Shopping Centre is your sort of standard 70s shopping centre. It was pretty quiet in the morning I was there, and with a fair share of unoccupied shops. So then off to the metro station we pop, and in the next video we'll be exploring the top 10. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.